All right guys, what's going on, and welcome out to another wonderful rainy day on the farm. So they got started planting, and now I'm out here in our Dammer Diker. So I'm going to give you, if you don't know what this is, if you're new to the channel, I'll give you a little walk around of what this is. So this, I call it a Dammer Diker because the one that we had before this one was Dammer Diker brand. So that's just what I called it. It's not actually called a Dammer Diker, it's called a potato cultivator. And essentially what it does is we have all these potato rows here. And the potato rows, when the planters come through, they don't build the best rows. Some of them are like really peaked like this. Some of them are kind of flattened off and okay, but they're not very wide. So you want the rows to be really just wide enough that when the potatoes grow, that they don't start poking through the ground. And because if a potato's growing and it pokes through the ground, well, if it sees the sun, then it turns green. And you don't want green potatoes. Green potatoes are not good. They don't like those. So that's where this guy comes in. So this is a Spudnik cultivator. So it has shanks that go between each row. So when I drive down, these shanks will go right in the middle of a row. Because we don't want to touch the row, because that's where the potato is. We don't want to damage the potato or move the row. So we want to go right in the middle. So the shank goes in the middle of the row, and these shanks are kind of special. They're not just a normal like a ripper shank or anything. So it has these blades on the bottom, these wings, and these wings, this goes in the middle of the row, but the wings kind of, because this is deep enough, it's deeper than the seed, the wings actually kind of stick out underneath. The potato will be about right here. So these break up the ground underneath the potato, so the potato has looser soil to grow in. Makes it a lot easier. And then it has these wings right here up higher. So this lifts up a bunch of dirt. Well, it hits this wing and it throws that dirt, it throws it up onto the side of the row. And I'll walk over here and I'll show you what I have done and haven't done to kind of show you. But it throws that dirt up onto the side of the row, making the row wider and taller. Well, we don't want it to be any taller because the planters will set the seed at their perfect depth, which is 6 inches. So we don't want the row to be any taller. We do want it to be wider. So that's where this little drag bar, it comes into play. So it's got a drag bar that goes the whole length. It's actually two separate ones, but goes the whole length. And this is set to drag that extra dirt off of the top, so the row won't get any higher. It'll drag that dirt off, which will then push more dirt over the sides. So after that goes through and drags it off, then we have the paddle wheel back here. So this is what I say is the Dammer Diker, because it makes little dams and dikes. It goes in the ground, makes a hole, and puts like a divot in, and puts a little dam on each side. So what this is for is so when you're watering, the water, and it's not too bad on flat ground. We could probably actually not use the paddle wheel on the flat ground and it would be okay, but it's part of the machine, so we're not going to take it off. We're just going to run it. But for like if you have a hill, you can Dammer Dike that hill, so when it rains or when you water, the water isn't just going to run down your row all the way down the hill. It'll sit in those little dams and dikes, and it'll pond, and then it'll absorb right there, and it'll get into the potatoes. So it makes it really nice for if you have hilly ground. And we do have a couple fields this year. Later, it'll be not the last field we do, but we have a field later that has a lot of hills. It's just rolling hills, the whole field. And in that field, this is essential because you want to be able to water it and actually get that water onto the potato. So that's what this is for. And we actually fixed this earlier this year. This whole shaft and everything is new because we broke it last year. We caught this tip right here on a telephone pole, and it bent and broke, and it was not good. But so that's all new. And then yeah, it's got some wheels right here. I figured I would show you this before it gets super nasty, because now that it's raining and it's all wet, I am kicking up a little bit of dust. So this is going to be brown after this. It's not going to be red. So over here is some that I've already done. So I did a little bit here. This is a new field that I just got into. Did a little bit here. So this is where the planters were. This is where I've done. So if we walk up here, right here you can see the dams and dikes. So a paddle goes in here, it kind of goes in at this and then goes like that. So it kind of pushes here and makes a little dam right here, makes a divot, and then pushes there and makes a little dam right there. So there's just holes. Every foot, there's a hole all the way down the field, the whole thing. So that's what the paddle wheel does. It makes it so there's a nice spot for the water to sit. But then also, you can kind of see, maybe, this one's a bad example because this one, the planter that went right here, doesn't have the best discs. But you can see how these rows right here are really peaked. They're kind of skinny and really peaked, so there's like a straight triangle. They're not very wide. So if we go over here and look, after I've gone through, it takes those peaked skinny rows and it makes a flat spot on top that's about, it's hard to tell on camera, but it's about 8 inches wide, just flat on top. And then the row kind of tapers down from there. And then also where the dams are, that kind of fills in, but it widens the row, makes the row nice and wide. That way the potatoes have plenty of dirt all around them, so there's less of a chance that they're gonna poke through and make a crack, and so the sun will see them and ruin the potatoes essentially. So that is what I got to do. I got to go through behind the planters and do all of the ground that they plant. They can go faster than me because there's 3 of them. They're only planting at 3.5 to 4 miles an hour, but there's 3 of them. I can go about 6 miles an hour. So if there was only 2 of them, I'd be able to keep up perfectly, but there's 3, so I can't. But we're lucky. Today, it's raining, and they can't plant in the rain because you don't want your seed to get wet, because we treat the seed with some, there's some rain on the lens. Let's wipe you off there. You're getting dirty out here. But there's treatment on the seed that we put on that helps from disease and bugs and stuff getting into it, and you don't want to wash that off. So that's on the seed. So if we brought the seed out and they started planting, the seed that's on the top of their planter would just get rained on and it would wash that off. We don't want to do that. So they're not planting today, which means I have a chance to catch up. Now normally I wouldn't come out in the rain either, but you can see this field is very sandy. This is where I just stepped. So you can see that the rain has only penetrated maybe a 1/2 inch to 1 inch into the sand. But sand is a lot easier to drive in when it's wet. So it's actually working better for me in this field, because normally when I get into sand, I have to lift it up because it starts to just sink down a lot deeper because it's soft, it's sand. But today, when it's all wet, it's not sinking at all. It's just riding up high on it and going, and it's been awesome. So I'm gonna get going here in the tractor, and I'll bring you along and kind of show you what it looks like when we're actually going. Okay, I'm back in the tractor now. I gotta get going, hit my steering button so it'll keep me in the right track. Then I can put this thing down in the ground. Now one thing, probably the most important thing with this, and you can kind of see, but let me see if the windshield wiper will do anything, is I have to be able to see my middle shank and see if it's right in the center of the row, because it's very important that I make sure this thing is centered, because if it's not, I can actually move the rows, and I don't want to do that. So it's like I can look at the front tire, and yeah, I have GPS, but with 3 planters, they're all on the same GPS line, but GPS isn't 100% accurate, so they all move just a little bit. So there's 3 planters in this field, so I have to, every time I turn around, I have to double check, look back, make sure that my line, that my shank is perfectly in line with the row that I'm in, because even though it might look like I'm straight in the front, I might not be straight in the back. and in the back is where I need to have it to be perfectly straight. So let me just do a double check. Yeah, it looks like I'm straight. You probably can't see very well, but I can see right down here where the rows are and where that shank is, and I can see that it's straight. So now you can kind of see what's going on here. So I cleaned the window off just there a little bit better. So you can kind of see the paddles spinning around. And if you look right down here, it's kind of hard to see, but right where each one of those shanks is, you can kind of see some dirt flowing up around the shank. And if you look at this one right here, there's the drag bar right there. So you can see the dirt flowing up onto this row, and then the drag bar is dragging off the extra because we don't want to make the rows any taller. Then it makes it nice and wide, and then the paddle wheels come through and it makes those dams and dikes and just makes a nice pretty row that will be able to grow potatoes really well. Now right now it's kind of cruddy weather, but a little bit later I have another camera I'm going to put out, and I'll actually get some better footage of what that actually looks like when it's flowing the dirt around and building up those rows, so you can see kind of how that works. But I'm going to wait until it stops raining a little bit. It's still kind of sprinkling. Probably here in about 30 minutes it'll be done raining, I imagine, and then we'll be able to get you some nice footage of close-up views. But yeah, that's the Dammer Diker. That's how it works. This field is pretty big. I would say, I think this field is 120 acres. So I'm not going to be able to get this field done today. So I think I can do about 100 acres in a day. So this one's not going to get finished today, but it'll be pretty close. But if they can't plant it all today, it'll give me a good chance to catch them. Because let's see, this field, there's one other field. So they're only 2 fields ahead. This field and one other field, and then they're on another one. So they're like 2.5 fields ahead of me. So if I can catch up, that would be great. I don't like to be too far behind with this. One reason for that is you don't want the dirt underneath to get dry. So if they plant it in nice dirt, and then if I come through a long time later and I disturb all that dirt and it's all loose and dry, then it can affect the seeds. So I don't want to do that. So what's nice right now is I'm coming through it. I can see back here in these rows that it's right where the shanks are going, it's darker. So I know that there's still moisture underneath the ground under there, which is what I want. I don't want to work it up when it's dry, because then I pull moisture away from the seed, and yeah, I just don't want that. So it's good for me to be as close behind the planters as possible, because then the potatoes will still have good moisture when I come through and loosen it back up again. It'll all settle down and it'll be good moisture for the potatoes to grow. So yeah, I'm gonna keep working here, and I'll get you some cool close-up views of the Dammer Diker running here in a little bit. So one more thing with these is a lot of people will they'll have fertilizer tanks on their tractor, and they'll actually, when they do this, they'll shank in fertilizer, or they can shank in, there's a lot of things that can affect potatoes. There's something called nematode, and there's a bunch of little bugs in the ground that can affect it. So they'll shake in like a chemical that will kill that bug with their cultivator. They'll come in and they'll just have, right behind the shanks, they'll have little pipes that go down, and they'll put that chemical in the dirt right in the ground with the potatoes, and that'll help kill the different bugs that are in the ground. Luckily, we don't have too many of those bugs, and we can actually treat it not when we're planting. We can actually treat it later, or before we plant, we can have it shanked in. So we don't have to do that on our cultivator, which is nice. But if we do have a field that has really high like nematode rates, then we'll have to shank it in, but not with this. We actually have the place we get the fertilizer and chemicals from. They come out and they'll shank it in, because they'll map the whole field with soil tests, and they'll just shank in where they need to. They won't do the whole field. They'll just do where the nematode's really bad. But luckily we don't have too much of that this year. Just getting this set back down, turn around. Well, the sun came out. I don't know if you can see that, but that's just, it's steaming. The ground's all steamy now. Yeah, check that out. That is, it's kind of cool to see. You don't see that very often. I've seen the road steam sometimes, but this, like, the whole field just started steaming. It's just like foggy. Cool. I think the rain is just about done. It's not even sprinkling right now. It's pretty well done raining, which is good. They hope to get planting this afternoon, so at least I got a few hours ahead on them. I'm never gonna catch them, no way. But yeah, I'll get you some cool shots out there once it actually once it warms up just a little bit. But this is kind of cool, watching all the steam. It just keeps getting more and more steamy as we go. you enjoyed that drone footage and the action shots back there. Honestly, when I put cameras in places to get you guys good shots, you gotta realize I've also never seen it from that angle. So it's new to me, and it's kind of exciting for me to get cool new shots of the equipment running, because I also haven't seen it from that spot, because, well, a lot of the spots I put the GoPro are kind of dangerous spots, and I don't want to be standing there when everything's running. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see. But I was going to end this video here, but I figured, why not bring you along for the rest of the day? I'm out here for about 8 more hours probably, and yeah, I am actually a little over halfway done with this field. I doubt I'll finish it today, but I won't have very much left to do tomorrow. But I'll keep bringing you back from time to time to give you little updates and if anything weird happens. So also in this field, this sandy spot, every time I hit this sandy spot, I have to lift my thing up a little bit because, well, it doesn't like the sand. And it is now later in the afternoon, and the ground has dried up enough that I am no longer just riding on top of the wet sand. It's sinking down in, so I have to keep lifting it up with my little button here so I can actually go. But it's still doing a good job. It's still dragging off the top and making sure we don't build up. Man, it is crazy. This fender should be green, but yeah, that's why I decided to start this video this morning when this thing was still red. It's crazy what a little rainstorm and some dust will do. It just makes everything turn brown. My whole tractor, even my black fenders are brown. Everything's brown. So yeah, I'll bring you back if anything changes, and I'll give you a little update at the end of the day. All right, I'm actually getting quite a ways across the field. I didn't think I would be this far. So I've done almost all the long rows, and I had to move the pivot out of the way, so I've got the pivot moving. So I'm gonna go do right here where the pivot was sitting. Push this button. I gotta back up to get straight. But I'm gonna do right here where the pivot was sitting and then move it back. And then I just have some shorter rows on the other end of the field, and then I'll be done with this field. I didn't think I would finish this field today, but it's kind of looking like I might, which would be awesome. Maybe this field's not quite as big as I thought. Let's put this thing down and get going here. Just gotta make sure I'm in the center down there. It looks like I am. So we're just gonna boogie down here. We gotta go down and then turn around and come back. And then the panel for the pivot is actually over here on the canal. So I'll drive over there and get it moving back. Well, to get turned around, I have to get uncomfortably close to this pivot. Just sneak my way in underneath it so I can get turned around here. There's just a handful of rows. I think it's only 5 rows right here, so kind of an odd number of rows, but we're gonna cultivate it. I want to cultivate everything they planted, so since they took the time to plant it, I figure I'll take the time to make sure it's cultivated. The rows are built up nice, and hopefully not hit the pivot. I won't hit it, don't worry. I'm already past the part of being super close to the pivot. So now there is no GPS line here, so I'm just gonna go for it. It's pretty close to this fence here, but we're good. I just have to eyeball it to make sure I'm as close to center as I can get. I'm only about 10 inches off the center, so it's like it slowly goes that way. So it looks like about right here I'll be able to hit the GPS and get it online. Yeah. Now I'm on a GPS line. These are going to be some funky rows to dig because they're kind of all over the place, but we're getting there. Now I have to go move the pivot back this way. I'm trying to make these videos different from last year's because obviously we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and the people who've been here from the beginning, I don't want it to seem like you're just seeing the same thing over and over again. But also, to the people who are seeing this for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we are trying to grow, and if you enjoy these videos, we're only going to keep making more of them. So make sure you go down below and hit subscribe, and we'll see you in all the next videos. But for now, I got to go move a pivot. All right, just got over here. There's the pivot right there. It's still creeping along. It's kind of a different pump setup than we've had before. This is a new field to us. This is the first year we're running it, but I got to get in this panel here and stop it. Then I'm actually going to flip it the other way so it'll walk back over so I can get by to go to the other end, because there's a whole bunch of rows over there, not quite as long as this whole field. These are almost mile-long rows. There's some like half-mile rows over there I got to go do. So I'm going to get this all buttoned up. I have to go finish up the short rows that are over here that I didn't quite finish, and then back to the other end of the field. All right, well, I've made it over here. So granted, it's really hard to see out this window because of the rain and the dust and whatnot, but you can kind of see I just have these few rows over here. By few, I mean there's quite a bit, but they're not as long rows. But there's one problem. I'm almost out of fuel. Now, I've been going most of the day, and I've ran it down to 2 bars like a few days ago. I think I did it actually 2 days in a row, and it was fine. Didn't die, did nothing, ran it down 2 bars. So I've got 5 bars. So now I'm just trying to decide, can I finish these short rows with 3 bars of fuel? I don't know, but I guess we're gonna find out. So I'll keep going. All right, well, I'm having a hard time believing it, but I am on the last pass of this field, and I have 2 bars of fuel left. So I barely made it. Yeah, check this out. 2 bars. We're gonna put this in the ground. We're gonna get that. We're gonna finish this field. Here's the last pass right here. Just a little bit left. Then this field will be all done. Which is kind of crazy. Like I'm not even sure how much I did today, but it must have been a lot, because I'm pretty sure this field is like 120 acres, and I only had maybe 10 done. So I did like 110 acres today, and it's not even 8 o'clock. So I can go fuel up, and we'll see where we get from there. But yeah, thanks for joining me on this lovely day. This turned out to be a really beautiful sunset as well, if you can see through that nasty window. But sun's going down. It's turned out to be way more beautiful of a day than this morning. Started the day with clouds and rain and all nasty, and end the day with beautiful skies, beautiful views all around. I'm glad I'm able to finish this field. I'm glad you guys were able to join me on this adventure today. Always make sure to come back and keep watching. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.